Hello, my name is Daryl Wolf, and I'm new to doing this. I'm usually the kind of person who quietly watches YouTube videos. I never comment, might press a few buttons, then I'll go on my merry way. I suspect by looking at the difference between the number of views to comments on most YouTube videos that a lot of people are on the same boat as me. So it's a bit outlandish for me to put myself into the video making side of things, but I've really kind of debated with myself whether I wanted to make narrated videos or not. But with more time at home, this is kind of my best time to try this out, and I'm probably going to have less introduction to next videos because I really don't like having this long-winded thing before getting to the topic at hand. Now, I wanted to create a series or a devlog about me finishing my Ludum Dare 46 Game Jam game. Much like my unfinished Game Jam game, this series is more of a test drive for future projects I really want to develop in the future. I was only able to work on Ludum Dare 46 for a few hours because I had other things to do that weekend, but I ended up having to leave the project to collect dust on my hard drive. And it made me reflect on my love-hate relationship with game jams, as it's really great to rapidly prototype on an idea, but it's hard to make yourself crunch over a 72 to 48 hour period on these smaller game jams. Overall, I really do like game jams though. In this starting point video, we're going to take a look back at my previous work I have done in past Ludum Dares. Now we'll start with my very first Ludum Dare 38, A Small World, in April 2017. So this might look a little rough, but this is when I first got a drawing tablet, I think the day before, and I really wanted to use it. I ended up using Unity because that's what I was learning at the time. This was maybe my third year programming and my first year of game programming. So it's pretty jarring at first. You have this earth plane boat thing and you have a moon attached to it. And the moon is controlled by the mouse and you use that to smash everything in sight. The blue meteors and these orange guys. And the more you smash stuff, the more your score goes up. And that's really the point of it since it's called Earth Moon Smash Squadron. Say that 3 times fast. The music track that's currently playing is in the game, but unfortunately I ran out of time to make any other sounds. There's one big flaw in the game, as the player can go off the screen and not be touched by anything. The player, boat, plane, earth has no collision on it, and so the obstacles will not even reach them if they go off the screen. For being my very first game jam, I would say this is pretty decent. There's a big bug with the going off screen, and the art line weight could be all consistent, and I think it'd make it a lot better. Also, the projectiles and all the enemies are very much rigid body, chaotic, physics-oriented objects, which makes it really hard to have a consistent strategy when they're all flying towards the player like this. Coming back to the art, I would say also smoother, consistent line work and a color palette would really help this kind of style. Finally, when you get hit enough, the game ends and get a little status screen, and that's basically all there is to Earth Moon Smash Squadron. So now I think it's time to move on. Next up is Ludum Dare 39, Running Out of Power. Acidic Adrenaline. This is a game that me and my brother tried to make for Ludum Dare 39. And I say try to make because we didn't really have great planning around the theme, so we'd had trouble pushing out anything at the end of the jam. My brother ended up doing the music and the art for this game. He tried to go for a cyberpunk 80s vaporwave type of aesthetic. He's more interested in doing a pixel art style, so that's kind of what we went with. So let's take a look at the game. It's pretty rough, I would say, in my opinion. So we were going to have it end at a certain point and not be this endless runner type of gameplay that you might be seeing here. The main idea is you have a hover bike, which is running out of power constantly. You need to get more power by destroying enemy hover bikes. You're able to shoot their bike by using your I-beam, which is some sort of weapon. I'm not really sure. We just kind of threw it in there. I spent too much time doing this line renderer for the I-beam. It's controlled by the mouse cursor. You can inflict more or less damage depending on which part of the enemy hover bike you target. And there's more to it that I needed to program. This AI is very basic. All it does is wait for you to come to a certain point and then it'll start moving. There was a lot of ideas that came maybe at the second day, which I did not have time to implement by the third day, which was just a mad rush of unfinished mess. Now it's time to move on to Ludum Dare 40. The more you have, the worse it is. This game turned out not bad. It was my first time really making a 3D game. And after going back and playing this again, I can notice the character controller definitely needs some help. The biggest issue that sticks out to me today is the sensitivity of the camera. It was cranked up way too high with no way to adjust it. I got very used to it when I was developing it, but when I came back to do this video, it was very jarring. This game is a 3D platformer. You can jump, dash, and you can also wall jump. You'd use all three of those in combination to traverse the level. The level is where the theme comes in. The more you have, the worse it is. As you can see, there are 3 different colors that make up the level sections. There's red, blue, and green. Each have an orb underneath the big particle systems going up into the sky. Every time you collect an orb, the level will change and get harder. There's only 3 colors, so there's only 3 levels of difficulty for each section. Starting with the red section, this part of the level focuses on using the player's dash mechanic so they can avoid being pushed off the edge of the level. The green section was intended to focus on wall jumping and dashing in combination. Using these two together, you can traverse up walls vertically without having to land once. The blue section mainly focused on jumping and the moving platforms. There'd be a purple moving platform going through all the underneath of the blue section. The idea was for you to jump over different obstacles and make it on time to where the moving platform meets the edge of the blue section so you could grab the blue orb at the very end. In my personal opinion, the blue and green sections did not turn out too great, and I remember rushing in the jam to get those sections done. The red section, on the other hand, I think is the funnest, as it feels great to go dashing and avoiding these huge obstacles trying to push you off the stage. That being said, I do like the overall concept of a level changing and having these different gameplay-oriented sections. When I ever get back to making a 3D platformer again, I do plan on revisiting this idea. It's another good way to add challenge and progression to a game without having to resort to RPG mechanics. Let's move on to the next game. Ludum Dare 41 combined 2 incompatible genres. This was about the time when I started using Godot 3. I had just started learning how to use it and made a few prototypes I thought it'd be good to use with the Ludum Dare Game Jam. As you can see, I obviously did not finish it, and it looks very, very early. I was trying to combine monster catching with a first-person shooter. Unfortunately, it just was way too much work. I think this theme overall was very hard to pull off. For me, getting 2 recognizable genres working in a jam game is difficult. So the game would work as you would shoot these capture balls that would stick to different creatures on this island that was yet to be made. Overall, I liked the idea. It was kind of fun idea to mess around with, but definitely did not go anywhere. It's a pretty brief little showing here, so we're going to go on to the next game. Ludum Dare 42, Running Out of Space. I think it's becoming a pattern now of me not finishing my Ludum Dare games. This is yet another unfinished Ludum Dare game. This game is also made in Godot 3. It's a game about stepping on different tiles that will disappear as you step on them, hence running out of space. And then you have to traverse your way first towards the key and then away from the key in order to lock the gate. Besides the lock and the gate, and possibly the game background, I think overall the 3D models are salvageable. The player control consists of just running and jumping. I wanted to keep it simple as I was going to add more tiles for different puzzle-like elements. This of course did not come to fruition. I ended up spending most of my time modeling the player character. It's definitely not the best, but up until that point, that's probably my best human model I've ever done. In this jam, I greatly improved my Blender modeling, animation, rigging, and sculpting overall. There's still a lot of problems with this game's art, but it gave me a good excuse to really start diving into the systems I really wanted to use with Blender. So when I look back at this game, I just see the time when Blender started to click for me. And now we're going to go on to the last game. Ludum Dare 44, Your Life is Currency. This is probably my favorite game I've made for a Ludum Dare jam. The game is called Heart Path. It's a procedurally generated maze puzzle game. You use the arrow keys to traverse the square grid in order to grab the heart that is placed at a random location on the grid. Each move on the grid costs you 1 life point. You start with 25 life points, and you can gain more life points each time you grab a heart. The amount of life points you get is dictated by the size of the grid that is generated. There's a timer ticking down your amount of life points you'll get once you reach the heart, but once you reach the heart, the points that have not been subtracted by the timer will be added to your life pool. So it's important to find a path that goes straight to the heart, and it's important to do it as fast as possible, since the timer will be ticking away your potential life points. I really tried to practice some of my own advice and made sure I started small. I kept the generation algorithm very simple. I was going to add more different types of obstacles, but I never got around to it. I mainly just try to focus on making a game around the procedurally generated grid that I had. I think it ended up being a fun minimalist design around the theme, and luckily the game feels pretty balanced as there's a degree of control of your life points at any given stage. I might revisit this idea in the future, maybe as like a bigger fleshed out puzzle game with way more to it, or maybe it could even be like almost like a hacking mini game in a larger game. This game's really focused on rapid button pressing, so I'm not really sure if a mobile game version would actually work. It would be something that I'd have to test out with swipe-based controls, and I really don't know if it gives a feel that I'm looking for. Maybe in the future I'll make a better Ludum Dare game than this one, but so far this is my favorite, and overall it's been a really fun time doing Ludum Dare, even if I haven't finished everything. This almost concludes my Ludum Dare Game Jam game history, but unfortunately I did not finish Ludum Dare 46 either. Now, join me next time as I start this devlog series for real, and I experiment with concepts and ideas from my unfinished Ludum Dare 46 game jam game and make it into something I want to play. I also have a few more video ideas I want to try out as well. Keep your eyes peeled for those too. That's it from me today. Thank you for your time.